Can we not just do them all together?
You can indeed. Actually, yeah, I mean, we were talking about that, weren't we? And the point being is that you're not always just going to play one pattern, one groove all the way through a song. You may wish to change in the chorus, you know, to give it that push. You know, we talked about the way that our standard rock groove, you know, lays the beat down quite heavy, but by adding a note on the and following a backbeat on the snare drum, that pushes it forward. So yes, it's absolutely crucial that you're able to move between different rock grooves in the same way that we looked at it being crucial to be able to move between a rock groove and a fill. So you've got to have that fluency of movement between the different things that you're being asked to play as a musician, but also keeping it completely steady. So that's what's really difficult, and hopefully that's why, you know, playing along with band tracks as support actually helps you do that, helps you maintain your fluency. I mean, let's just take an example, right? So quite often, you know, break a rule. Let's break a rule. I can take a backing track.
What kind of rule?
Well, it's a simple one.
All right.
I can
a musical rule.
Absolutely.
Right.
I can take any of these backing tracks, mute out the drum part, and then play my version of the drum part. So in other words, creating my own exercise. So I'm just going to fly up one of these exercises backing tracks. I'll mute the drum part, and then I'll play a series of different bass drum parts.
All right.
So you can create... You can say to yourself, well, I'm going to play exercise 7, and then I'll play 9, and then I'll go to 10, and then you can discover which ones are harder to move between. So I'll just give a few bars example of doing just that. I'll make a few up from these exercises.
I mean, because we've got them on screen there. Go from 10 to 11.
10 to 11, okay? Yeah, cool. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. Back to 10. 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. So you're creating new patterns.
Yep.
And 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. So you can actually, more than the 18 grooves we've got in there, by the time you combine a couple of bars into 2-bar patterns, 3 or 4-bar patterns, you've got a real almost...
infinitesimal.
Thank you.
That's not even a word.
Well, it was close.
I just made it up for you.
Loads.
Yeah,
you've got
absolutely.
loads.
Tons.
Yes, pages and pages and pages and pages. Now, actually, I have to say that when I'm teaching my students, most of the time I say, look, don't try every single combination there possibly is, because you'll just spread your practice far too thinly.
Oh, that's quite an interesting point.
Yeah, so you've got to be quite selective with what you choose to do, but basically the options are there for you, and the method in which you can practice is there for you. There's a template to follow.
Right.
So mix a couple of bars up, create new grooves, and just see which ones you like. I mean, the fact that I've written them down, big deal. Make your own up. You can, by making different combinations, find the ones that you like, because what these lessons are about are not about me and what I've written. They're about you, you know, and your learning and what you want to turn these into to become your own individual drummer with your own individual style. Just taking these tools and carving out your own kind of playing.
Yeah, expanding your own development and kind of, you know, giving it your own stamp.
Yeah, definitely.
All
definitely. Right. Okay, cool. So that's quite nice. What I'd like to do now is, in the first part of this lesson, we talked about eighth notes on the hi-hat, and we talked about the eighth note patterns on the bass drum.
Yeah.
And that gave us unison all the time.
Unison, we talked about that in sort of a few episodes before.
Yeah.
Recap what that means.
Okay, unison's where you're playing 2 limbs, maybe more, but in these instances, 2 limbs together at the same time. Now, generally speaking, that is easier in a coordination, because if it's your right foot and your right hand, hi-hat and bass drum, for instance, they're going to go together. So they find that reasonably easy.
If it's your left hand and your right foot, is that still classed as unison?
It is still classed as unison, but that's called cross-body unison.
There you go.
We're going to leave that for the moment, because that comes later on in the course. Now, that is tough. That's really tough.
I'm glad that you've said we're going to leave that for the moment.
We're going to leave that for the moment. But same side unison, as it's referred to, and as is in those first set of exercises, those 6 exercises using eighth notes on the hi-hat and some eighth notes and quarter notes on the bass drum, they all fall together, okay? So you've got that motion going on. Now, we looked at some independence in lesson 2, yeah? And now what we're going to do is we're going to use the 16th note hi-hat pattern to identify the difficulties of independence when it's in coordination. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at some of the exercises for rock grooves with 16th notes in the hi-hat line.
Jeepers creepers.
Correctamundo. So the example I would like to take is exercise 14 here.
You didn't go for 13 because that's quite unlucky, isn't it?
Well, 13 we've actually covered effectively because that was in lesson 5. That was our introduction to 16th notes. So the guys and girls at home should be pretty familiar with that by now. Of course, they should recap that and then move on. But diving straight into exercise 14 as an example here, although we've got unison between the bass drum and the hi-hat on beats 1, 3 and, because you can see these notes fall together.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you've actually got is independence on the E here.
That's a tricky one.
And the A here.
So there's going to be a tendency you want to play that beat.
What often happens is the and of 3 is dragged forward to play with this note here as if it's an 8th note. So quite often students bring that second note. They know they've got to play a second note on the bass drum in beat 3. And so as soon as they play the second note on the hi-hat, the bass drum falls forward with it. So this is what students often do.
Yeah, give us an example of what not to do, or what is the tendency to happen.
I'll try.
You're so good you can't do it wrong.
I find it hard, I have to say, except when I'm not trying, and then it all goes horribly wrong without any effort whatsoever. So what we're going to do here is play exercise 14.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's watch out for beat 3. So we got 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and. Now that's often what happens. The student knows they've got a second note to play and they drag it forward onto the E. Okay?
Yeah, you've got to give it that little extra time.
You've got to give it a little extra time, which is the independent side of playing the E and the A. So what I invariably say to the student is just look at this beat in isolation.
Oh, really? Break it down to that point?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we've talked about building and building blocks, understanding the patterns. What you can also do is within a pattern, hone in on the problem. It's just like taking a microscope and saying, you know, you've got a problem. It's covering a large area.
Yeah.
Well, don't waste your time playing those first 2 beats because you're playing them fine, and the last beat is taking care of itself. The problem is occurring in beat 3. Well, just look at beat 3 and what the coordination is. So, if we just take beat 3 for instance. On the hi-hat, it's 3, E, and
That's easy enough.
Easy enough. So the bass drum is on the 3, and then again on the and. So the E and the are on their own on the hi-hat.
Would a good piece of advice be to maybe really stress the and when you're saying it, so you know when you've said it, you've got to go down there?
Definitely. Counting it out loud, making you very aware of what you're trying to do is incredibly important. Always, always, always count is what I would say to the vast majority of players need that counting out loud, articulate it from the lips as like a physical motion, like the physical side of playing the drums.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got, I'll play as slowly as I can here. 3 E and so it's 3 E and 3 E and so it's unison. Independence, unison, independence. Unison, independence.
That's
unison,
like a rap.
Independent. Well, I'm well known for that. And, okay, then you put that into the context of the whole groove. Okay, really, really slowly, I'm going to do the whole of that exercise at that pace, if I can. Hopefully you won't all get bored out there. So we're going to go 1 E and 2 E and...
This is the tricky bit.
3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and
Would you increase the pace a bit then?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as you know that you're getting it right, move on. Now, I want to make what I think is a very important point here. Some of the viewers at home will have got that straight away. They're fine. Some of them won't have. The point is, you're studying at your pace, not my pace, not the person who's practicing next door's pace,
Certainly
your
not my pace.
So whatever works for you, you do it. Do not listen to anybody else. So if you have to go through that process, which I have to say I would have done as a learner, I had to break everything down, then do so. Some people are able to pick these things up much more physically, much more quickly. In which case, fine. Don't go through that process. Get on with it. Yeah. But if you need to, you've got a process that means that you'll be able to play that exercise, and that is what our courses are designed for, to try and help everybody have a go at playing the drums.
You fill me with hope, Brian.
Well, I try my best.
No, you do very well. We're coming to the end of the episode now.
That's a shame.
Episode 7 obviously will be coming next.
Yes, okay. Looking forward to it.
The theme tune's coming very soon.
I'll try and play something.
Okay, I'm looking forward to interesting little bits that you'll be playing now on this.
They'll be modest.
I want interest.
Okay.
Okay, that is the end for today. Join us again for episode 7. That'll be coming up, but keep listening to find out how you can get hold of your copy of the Gigajam course notes. Brian, get interesting.
Okay. There's a first.